Thus, the first time I heard her voice, it didn't sound dangerous. It sounded curious, almost playful. Po, po, po. I was 12 years old, standing alone at a rural bus stop near my grandparents' village, when a shadow stretched across the road in front of me. It was far too long to belong to any normal person. My heart began to race as I slowly looked up and realized the shadow came from a woman standing just a few steps away. She wore a long white dress and a white straw hat that hid her face, but what terrified me wasn't her clothing, it was her height. She was impossibly tall, at least 8 feet, her body thin and unnatural, like it didn't fully belong in this world. When she tilted her head toward me and whispered, "Po, po, po." My legs froze in fear. I don't remember how long I stood there, unable to move, staring at the tall woman as she slowly took a step closer. Her movements were calm and unhurried, as if she already knew I couldn't escape. Just as I felt a cold pressure crawl up my spine, I heard my grandmother screaming my name from behind me. I flinched and turned around for only a second. When I looked back, the woman was gone, leaving behind nothing but the echo of her strange voice and a deep, sinking dread in my chest. That night, my grandparents locked every door and window in the house. My grandfather placed old protective charms around the walls, and my grandmother refused to let me out of her sight. When I asked them what was wrong, the color drained from their faces. In a trembling voice, my grandmother spoke a name I had never heard before, Hachishakusama. She told me it was a spirit that appears as a towering woman and preys on children, mimicking voices to lure them away. Once she chooses a target, she follows them relentlessly, sometimes for days, sometimes longer. And when she finally reaches them, they are never seen again. Over the next few days, I realized I had already been chosen. I began hearing my mother's voice calling me from outside, even though she was miles away. At night, I saw an enormous shadow pass by the windows, stretching across the walls like a living thing. Every time I felt safe, I would hear it again, faint but unmistakable poo, poo poo. Each night the sound came closer, and with it, my fear grew stronger. My grandparents said fear made her stronger, and that the only way to survive was to trick her. They arranged for me to leave the village and stay somewhere she wouldn't expect. On the night we planned to leave, I was hidden inside a small room surrounded by protective seals, while my grandfather stood outside pretending I was still there. For hours, everything was silent. Then, just before dawn, we heard heavy footsteps circling the house. The walls began to creak as a shadow stretched across the door, taller than the ceiling itself. A familiar voice whispered my name, followed by that horrifying sound, "Po, po, po." Suddenly, the footsteps stopped. After a long, suffocating silence, my grandfather laughed nervously and said it was over. They rushed me out of the house before sunrise and sent me far away. For years, nothing happened. I grew up, went to school, and convinced myself it had all been a childhood nightmare. Till last night. I was walking home alone when I noticed a shadow stretching across the sidewalk, far longer than it should have been. My phone buzzed, and I saw a message from my mother simply saying, "Where are you?" Then, behind me, I heard a familiar, curious voice whisper softly, "Po, po, po." I looked up and saw the brim of a straw hat towering above me. That's when I understood the truth. Hachishakusama doesn't stop hunting, she only waits. And now she's finally found me.